We live in a world that tells women to chase, to prove, to earn love like it's a prize at the end of an exhausting race. We are taught from an early age that if we want to be chosen, we have to be pleasing. We have to bend, accommodate, anticipate every need, and then someone will decide we are worthy of their love. But here's what's actually happening. When we make someone else the center of our world, when we tether our sense of worth to whether they call, text, or choose us, we lose the very thing that makes us magnetic or self-respect. Real attraction, deep attraction, isn't about proving, it's about being. And men people really are drawn to those who stand firm in who they are, who do not grip so tightly that they disappear into another person's orbit. Detachment isn't about playing games or being aloof. It's about knowing you are already enough, whether someone stays or not. Because here's the truth. Desperation repels and self-assurance captivates. When a woman stops making a relationship the measure of her worth, when she steps into her own power and trusts that she will be okay no matter what, she becomes undeniable. Not because she's trying to be, because she just is. There is something profoundly attractive about a woman who knows she is whole, who does not seek validation but welcomes connection. She isn't afraid to walk away from what doesn't serve her. And in doing so, she commands the kind of respect that can't be faked or forced. Men, like all of us, are drawn to confidence, to self-possession, to people who are rooted in their own lives and passions. It's not about indifference, it's about knowing that your value was never up for negotiation in the first place. From the moment we are old enough to understand relationships, many of you, especially women, are conditioned to believe that our value is tied to how others see us. We are taught that being chosen, being desired, being someone's ideal partner is the ultimate goal. This conditioning runs deep. It shows up in the way we analyze text messages, overthink conversations, and shape ourselves to fit what we believe will make us more lovable. But true attraction, real, lasting, magnetic attraction does not come from chasing approval. It comes from a deep, unshakable sense of self-worth. When a woman knows her value, when she recognizes that her worth is not something to be earned or proven, she carries herself differently. She moves through the world with a quiet confidence and energy that is undeniably compelling. Men, like all people, are drawn to those who radiate certainty in who they are. There is something powerful about a woman who does not seek permission to be herself, who does not mold her identity to fit someone else's expectations. She is not waiting to be chosen because she already knows she is enough. When a woman's sense of self is dependent on external validation, it creates an imbalance in relationships. It leads to a dynamic where she is constantly adjusting, constantly measuring her worth by how someone else treats her. This is exhausting, and over time it becomes unattractive. Needing constant reassurance, overanalyzing every interaction, and making someone else's attention the center of her world creates pressure, and pressure is not the foundation of desire. On the other hand, a woman who understands her intrinsic value does not need constant validation. She enjoys love, but she does not need it to feel complete. She welcomes connection, but she is not dependent on it for her happiness. This kind of self-assurance is rare, and it is deeply attractive. Think about the women who seem to effortlessly draw people toward them. It is not their looks alone, nor is it their ability to play games or manipulate emotions. It is their presence, the way they stand firm in their own identity, the way they exude a quiet certainty that they are enough, whether someone chooses them or not. This doesn't mean being indifferent to love or relationships. It doesn't mean shutting people out or pretending you don't care. It means knowing that love is something to be shared, not something to be earned. It means showing up as your authentic self, rather than performing a version of yourself you think will be more desirable. The irony is that the less you seek external validation, the more naturally you attract the right kind of attention. When a woman operates from a place of self-worth, she sets a standard for how she expects to be treated. She does not accept breadcrumbs of affection or tolerate disrespect because she knows she deserves better. And that self-respect, that quiet confidence, is captivating. Men are naturally drawn to women who are secure in themselves because security creates stability. When a woman is confident in who she is, she brings an energy that is both calming and exciting. There is no sense of desperation, no feeling of trying too hard. Instead, there is a natural easier sense that she is already complete, and any relationship she enters is a choice, not a necessity. So, the real question isn't, how can I make someone like me? The real question is, do I truly like and value myself? Because the moment you stop looking outward for approval and start recognizing your own worth, everything shifts. You no longer accept less than you deserve. You no longer waste energy proving yourself. And in doing so, you become the kind of person who naturally attracts love, respect, and admiration, not by chasing it, but by simply being. There is a common misconception that detachment in relationships means being cold, distant, or uninterested. Many people assume that in order to attract someone, they need to play games waiting a certain number of hours before responding to a text, pretending to be less interested than they really are, or using manipulation tactics to keep the other person chasing. But real detachment has nothing to do with deception or strategic withholding of affection. It is not about creating artificial scarcity to make yourself seem more desirable. True detachment is about confidence. It is about knowing that your worth is not determined by someone else's attention, validation, or approval. When a woman is genuinely detached in the healthiest sense, she is not disconnected from her emotions or relationships. In fact, she may care deeply about the person she's interested in. The difference is that she does not let that care turn into an obsession with the outcome. She does not tie her sense of self-worth to whether someone texts back, whether they choose her, or whether the relationship progresses in a particular way. She understands that her happiness, fulfillment, and sense of value are not dependent on any one person's presence in her life. This type of confidence is incredibly attractive because it signals strength and emotional stability. Manan people in general are drawn to those who carry themselves with a quiet, unshakable self-assurance. When someone senses that you are not desperate for their approval, they naturally respect you more. There is an undeniable power in a woman who is happy, fulfilled, and grounded in her own life, regardless of whether someone else is pursuing her. Confidence is attractive because it communicates security. When you are confident, you send the message that you trust yourself, that you know your own value, and that you are not easily shaken by external circumstances. People feel safe around those who are emotionally secure. They feel drawn to individuals who do not make their self-worth dependent on external factors. Think about it. When someone is overly eager, clingy, or needy in a relationship, it can create pressure. It can feel like they need constant reassurance to feel okay, and that can become emotionally exhausting. On the other hand, when someone is secure in themselves, they bring a sense of ease to the relationship. They don't panic over small things, they don't overanalyze every interaction, and they don't seek constant validation. This makes them more enjoyable to be around, more attractive, and more desirable. A confident woman does not try to force a connection. She does not beg for attention, nor does she settle for breadcrumbs of affection. She simply exists in her own power, knowing that the right person will recognize her worth without her having to chase or convince them. It is important to note that detachment is not the same as indifference or emotional unavailability. Some people mistake the idea of detachment for being aloof, playing hard to get, or pretending not to care. That is not real confidence. That is a fear-based defense mechanism. True confidence allows space for vulnerability. A woman who is detached in a healthy way is still open to love, still receptive to deep emotional connections, but she does not grasp for them. She understands that love should flow naturally, not be forced or controlled. She can express her feelings without fear of rejection because she knows that rejection does not diminish her worth. She can enjoy someone's presence without becoming addicted to their validation. She can invest in a relationship without losing herself in it. If detachment is about confidence, then the key to developing it is strengthening your sense of self-worth, independent of relationships. Here are some ways to cultivate this mindset. A woman who is deeply engaged in her own life, passions, and goals is naturally attractive. When you are fulfilled by your career, hobbies, friendships, and personal growth, you don't feel the need to seek external validation from a relationship. Understand that your value does not come from being chosen by someone else. It comes from within. You are already worthy of love and respect, and you do not need to prove that to anyone. A confident woman does not tolerate disrespect, inconsistent behavior, or anything that does not align with her standards. She knows when to walk away from situations that do not serve her, and she does so without fear. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to release attachment to how a relationship should unfold. Instead of trying to control or force an outcome, focus on enjoying the present moment and allowing things to unfold naturally. Confidence comes from self-trust. When you trust yourself to make the right decisions, to walk away when necessary, and to handle whatever comes your way, you no longer feel the need to cling to anything outside of yourself. When a woman embodies this kind of confidence and detachment, she becomes irresistibly attractive, not because she is trying to be, but because she simply is. She carries herself with an ease that is magnetic. She does not chase, beg, or demand attention, yet she receives it effortlessly. This is because people are naturally drawn to those who are comfortable in their own skin, who radiate self-assurance, and who do not make love the defining factor of their worth. Men in particular are highly attracted to women who embody this energy. When a woman is secure in herself, she creates a sense of intrigue and admiration. She is not easily swayed by external factors, and that makes her stand out. She is a challenge in it because she plays games, but because she does not settle for less than she deserves. In the end, the most powerful thing a woman can do is trust in her own value. When she does that, everything else, love, respect, admiration, follows naturally. Attraction is one of the most misunderstood dynamics in relationships. We often believe that if we try harder, love more, and give endlessly, we will be cherished in return. But the truth is, when we become overly attached, when we grasp too tightly, we don't draw others in, we push them away. Desperation doesn't create closeness. It creates pressure. And pressure makes people retreat. Think about it. When someone feels like they are responsible for your happiness, it can feel like a burden rather than a bond. No one wants to feel trapped or like they are the single source of another person's emotional stability. The more you rely on someone else to fulfill you, the more likely they are to withdraw. That's because real connection is rooted in freedom and choice, not obligation or neediness. Desperation sends a subconscious message that you are lacking something within yourself and that you need someone else to complete you. This is an immense responsibility to place on another human being. People are drawn to those who bring something enriching to their lives, not to those who look to them as their only source of joy and validation. When a person senses that you are constantly seeking reassurance, checking in excessively, overanalyzing their words and actions, or afraid of losing them to the point where you compromise your own self-respect, it changes the balance of attraction. Instead of feeling pulled toward you, they feel overwhelmed by the weight of your expectations. Self-assurance, on the other hand, is deeply attractive. It communicates that you are whole as you are, that you enjoy someone's presence, but do not need it to feel complete. This is not about pretending to be uninterested or playing hard to get. It's about truly being okay with or without someone. A self-assured woman, she doesn't need constant validation because she already recognizes her own value. She has passions, goals, and relationships outside of any romantic interest, which makes her naturally magnetic. She doesn't accept treatment that diminishes her. She respects herself enough to walk away when necessary. She trusts that the right people will be drawn to her, and she doesn't need to chase or beg for attention. We communicate more through our energy and actions than through words. When you move through life with confidence, you naturally attract people who respect and admire that energy. Think about individuals who exude self-assurance. They aren't desperate for attention, yet they seem to draw people in effortlessly. That's because confidence signals security, and security feels safe, inviting, and exciting all at once. On the other hand, when someone is overly eager to please, constantly available, or visibly anxious about a relationship, it creates tension rather than attraction. It shifts the dynamic from mutual desire to imbalance, where one person feels they are being pursued rather than choosing to engage freely. Some people confuse confidence with detachment or control. They think, if I ignore them, if I make them jealous, if I act like I don't care, then they'll want me. But that's not confidence. That's manipulation. True confidence isn't about withholding affection or playing games. It's about showing up fully and still being okay if things don't work out. Self-assured people are emotionally open without being emotionally dependent. They give love freely, but they do not beg for it. They allow relationships to unfold naturally rather than forcing or clinging. They trust that if something is right, it will align, and if it isn't, they will still be whole and happy. If you find yourself feeling desperate for someone's attention, it's important to pause and reflect on what's happening internally. Ask yourself. Shifting towards self-assurance starts with cultivating a life you love, independent of any relationship. It means focusing on your own growth, passions, and happiness, so that when someone enters your life, they are an addition, not a necessity. It means recognizing that love should enhance you, not consume you. Attraction is not about trying harder to make someone stay. It's about knowing that your presence alone is valuable and trusting that the right people will recognize that. When you let go of desperation and step into self-assurance, you no longer chase, you attract. And that shift changes everything. There is an undeniable power in a woman who knows when to walk away. It is a quiet strength, not loud or vengeful, but firm and resolute. It says, I know my worth, and I will not beg for what should be freely given. This is not about arrogance or playing hard to get. It's about deep self-respect and an unshakable belief that love, when it is real, does not require begging, convincing, or over-explaining. When you walk away from situations that do not honor you, you are sending a clear message, not just to the other person, but to yourself. You are reinforcing the idea that your time, energy, and love are valuable. When a woman stays in a relationship that drains her, accepts mistreatment, or clings to a man who is not meeting her needs, she is subconsciously telling herself that she is not worthy of better. Walking away, even when it's difficult, shifts that narrative. It is an act of self-love. Many women stay in unhealthy dynamics out of fear of being alone, fear of not finding someone better, fear that leaving means losing something valuable. But when you release that fear, you stop operating from a place of scarcity. You begin to trust that what is meant for you will never require you to suffer to keep it. Walking away removes the illusion of control and replaces it with trust in yourself and in the belief that you will be okay, no matter what. There is something incredibly magnetic about a woman who refuses to chase. When a woman walks away, the energy dynamic shifts. Instead of her constantly trying to hold things together, she is now the one stepping back, creating space for the man to reflect on what he stands to lose. Often, this is when men wake up. When a woman detaches, she forces a man to take responsibility for his actions or lack thereof. She is no longer available at his convenience, and that absence creates impact. Healthy love is never about force or obligation. When a woman chooses to walk away rather than settle, she is demonstrating that love is a conscious decision, not something that happens by default. A relationship should be a mutual exchange, not a desperate attempt to hold on to something that isn't thriving. There's a difference between a man who is truly invested and one who is simply comfortable. When a woman is always available, always forgiving, and always waiting, it can be easy for a man to take her presence for granted. Walking away forces clarity. If he truly values her, he will step up. If he doesn't, then his lack of effort is the answer she needed. Either way, she wins because she is no longer wasting her time. This doesn't mean playing games, but when something is too easily available, it can be taken for granted. Walking away sets a boundary that requires a man to make an intentional effort. Nothing is more powerful than a woman who knows she will be fine with or without a man. That kind of energy is compelling because it signals emotional maturity and independence. If a man has become too comfortable in a dynamic where a woman overinvests, her walking away forces him to reassess what he's doing. It shakes up the status quo and demands a real response. Walking away is not about manipulation or trying to provoke a reaction. It should come from a genuine realization that you deserve better. If someone doesn't appreciate your value, explaining it over and over will not change anything. Your actions speak louder than words. Leaving does not have to be dramatic. Simply step back, refocus on yourself, and move forward with confidence. Walking away only works if you truly detach. If you leave but keep reaching out, you are sending mixed signals. Make peace with your decision and trust that something better is ahead. Walking away is not about playing gamesit. It is about choosing yourself. It is about deciding that your peace, self-worth, and happiness are too important to be compromised. And when a woman truly embraces this mindset, she becomes powerful. Not because she is trying to be you, because she already is. There is something deeply captivating about a person who is whole within themselves, someone who is not searching for external validation to feel complete. When a woman is fulfilled in her own life, engaged in her own passions, and emotionally self-sufficient, she carries an energy that naturally attracts others, including men. This kind of presence is not something that can be faked or force-set. It is an unshakable sense of self that comes from within. From a psychological standpoint, people are drawn to individuals who exude confidence and independence. When a woman is truly happy on her own, she radiates a sense of ease, a kind of effortless allure that makes others want to be around her. This is because she isn't seeking someone to fill a void or to complete her is already complete. And when a person is whole, they attract relationships that are based on mutual respect rather than neediness or codependency. Many people fall into the trap of believing that a relationship will somehow make them whole. Society often romanticizes the idea that love is about two people completing each other. But this mindset creates an unhealthy dynamic where a person's sense of fulfillment is tied to someone else's presence. When this happens, the relationship stops being a partnership and instead becomes a dependency. A woman who is constantly looking for external validation may attract people who sense that neediness and either take advantage of it or become overwhelmed by it. No one wants to feel like they are responsible for someone else's happiness. This is why relationships that are built on personal wholeness rather than emotional dependency are stronger, healthier, and more fulfilling. A woman who embraces her own life, who invests in her passions, her friendships, her growth carries a different kind of energy. She isn't waiting for someone to bring excitement or meaning into her world. She is already living it. Whether it's pursuing a career, traveling, engaging in hobbies, or simply nurturing her own well-being, she is focused on her own journey. This kind of energy is contagious. It makes people curious. It draws others in because it reflects a life that is full of purpose and joy. People, especially Minari, deeply attracted to someone who is thriving independently because it signals that being in a relationship with this person would be an addition to their life, not a burden. When a woman is whole, she brings emotional security into her relationships. She doesn't react out of fear, she doesn't try to control, and she doesn't cling to the outcome of every interaction. Instead, she approaches relationships from a place of abundance, knows she will be fine whether things work out or not. This is incredibly attractive. Emotional security creates a space where real, deep connections can form. When someone knows that their partner is not relying on them for their entire emotional well-being, it allows for a more natural, healthy relationship dynamic. There is room for both individuals to grow, to be independent, and to truly appreciate each other without feeling trapped or responsible for each other's happiness. At the heart of wholeness is self-love. A woman who values herself naturally sets boundaries, expects respect, and refuses to settle for anything less than she deserves. She knows her worth, and that self-assurance becomes a natural filter for the kinds of people she attracts. This is why Manan people in general are drawn to those who have a strong sense of self. They recognize someone who is already at peace with who they are and who does not need a relationship to feel worthy. That kind of confidence is rare, and it is magnetic. Wholeness is not about rejecting love, it is about making space for the right kind of love. A woman who is whole does not need a relationship to feel complete. But when she chooses to be with someone, it is out of genuine connection, not fear or dependency. And that is the kind of presence that attracts not just any man, but the right man.